Oscar Bevis for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on DAZN. He says he's ready to rock and roll. Gareth Davies, how are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm looking at the kind of, is that 80s colouring and design behind you? That's not an Artex ceiling, is it?
It's not. It's my mum and dad's work, so it's. Can you tell it's not very young and modern? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, it's a bit like me. It's like stuck in the past.
Mate, we've got loads to talk about. Got to
Yeah.
start with Times Square on Friday night. Um, would it be fair to say that the fights didn't perhaps deliver on the entertainment front?
Um, right, going over it but without kind of going into it and stripping it back to its bare raw elements. Tio Lopez was brilliant. I thought very, very entertaining and showed he's a couple of levels above Arnold Barboza. Look how good Barboza was against Catterall. He showed himself to be the leading 140-pound fighter in the world, the leading 10-stone fighter in the world. Didn't listen to his dad all night, by the way. Kept telling him to jab, certainly on the broadcast, and he just wasn't listening. But he was doing the bull and the matador dance, and he was very much the matador. Outside that, um, Ryan Garcia was desperately disappointing and looked like a shell of himself, a shadow of himself. And even though, and obviously he lost to Rolly Romero, knocked down in the second round, never really recovered, didn't look like he was there, didn't look hungry to win. Obviously, there's the scenes of him breaking down in his dressing room afterwards or wherever he was a couple of hours later, really, really disappointed with himself. And even though he won, there was something very disappointing and gun shy about Devin Haney in the way that he circled the ring most of the fight and didn't really engage with Jose Ramirez, who he's a better boxer than, who he should have showed his timing against. And yeah, it wasn't exciting fair, I'm afraid. And I think the Haney Garcia fight has gone out of the window.
Yeah, in terms of excitement levels, and this relates a bit to Canelo, although this, I would say, it wasn't his fault, and we'll talk about Canelo later. The money you're earning is extortionate. We want to see something that doesn't look like a light spar. Fair.
Oh, absolutely fair. When you think that Turkey Al Sheikh, I mean, the ambition was right with Times Square. A unique event. In retrospect, they might feel, I wonder if we should have gone to Madison Square Garden with 25,000 fans in there. And maybe that would have elevated the performance of the fighters. They were in an alien environment, arriving in taxis. Rolly Romero walked there from the hotel, didn't he? Down, I think Rolly walked there down the streets. I enjoyed the novelty of the setting. Obviously, I was in Dubai with Crypto Fight Night last week, and then came back Friday, watched the event live on the DAZN broadcast. Did my Talk Sports show on Saturday night, 9 till midnight. Came home and watched the Canelo fight. Went to bed through the day. Got up and watched Inoue late at night on Sunday. So, I mean, I've really been doing a watching brief. Um, and the only way you can see a route through it now is Ryan Garcia against Conor Benn, who is enjoying the limelight. Look at the limelight Conor Benn was enjoying in New York and then later at the Formula One in Miami, and he just lost a 12-round fight. And yet, because of the level of performance and the thrills and the excitement and the fallout, and he'd stepped up two weight divisions, his stock has risen. In fact, before the New York event, Oscar, he was talking about a fight with Ryan Garcia. And by the end of the New York event, he was saying, nah, I don't think I do want to fight Ryan Garcia. But I tell you now, if they brought Ryan Garcia over here to fight Conor Benn in a stadium, it would be enormous. Absolutely enormous.
Yeah, I remember a time, and you don't want to do disservice to legends of the past, but where there was talk of there being a modern Four Kings involving your Garcia, Haney, Tio.
No, there's seven of them. You can bring in Javonta Davis,
Yeah.
Shaka Stevenson, Keyshawn Davis, um, Who else is out there at 140? Richardson Hitchens, I think. That you could create a Seven Kings or Seven Princes, as I've called them. So I agree, and yet it has not ignited. And this was supposed to be the bit that would ignite them. Now we probably see Haney against Teo Lopez at 140, or Lopez against, I don't know, Richardson Hitchens. I think Lopez is the number one at 140. I don't think Devon looked like a 147 fighter. I mean, he was obviously a 143 fighter on Friday night, but he didn't look like some all-conquering welterweight.
Yeah, of course, the aim of boxing is to hit and not get hit. And when you're coming through a fight, earning big money and not really taking anything on the chin, I suppose almost hard to criticize the actual action of it. But it just wasn't watchable from what we want to see and what we have seen from.
People will argue they didn't show enough hunger. Devin Haney's earning 10 million US, I understand. Teo Lopez, 10 million US. Ryan Garcia, reportedly 20 million US. So don't think they won't be disappointed in their own performances. Certainly those two that we're mentioning, because at the end of the day, yes, the bank balance is nice and full. You know, the truckload of cash goes their way, the greenbacks, but you know, deep down, their athletic desire and their ambition will have been hurt internally by what they produced. Maybe in hindsight, they should have thrown Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney straight in with each other at 143 pounds, maybe, and just had the fight. Because for me, it's lost now. For now, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a fight. Obviously, we'd love to see, and I guess time will tell what happens with those.
But not now, because it doesn't make sense now. It doesn't promote. There's no promotion in it, you know?
People forget about what they saw at the weekend, though, because if you put Devon and Ryan together, they'll have the back and forth, and that fight will build itself despite the performances.
Okay, well, if that's how you see it promotionally, that's your view, but I don't agree.
Yeah. You mentioned Conor Benn. I do want to brush over just seeing him get mobbed outside hotels, people shouting at him out of taxi windows. That performance has done him the world of good and morphed him into a star, despite the fact it was, a defeat in his first significant fight in what, 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be called the water cooler moment on a Monday morning, but we've had water cooler on Benn Eubank all week because of the chronic dehydration of Chris Eubank, the discussion about his videos which showed him sauna suit and trying to make weight, and the worries about the fight happening again, and Eddie Hearn's comments, and that they should make Eubank lose more weight to make the fight more even, which is a ludicrous thing to say, frankly. And I hope he regrets saying that, because he knows how dangerous it is, the weight cut for fighters, and it's one of the most dangerous things in boxing, even though I think Eubank will try and make 160 once more, and that fight rematch will happen. And we're hearing it's in the works. And it doesn't surprise me. It'll probably be in October. And I give Benn a much better chance of winning it a second time around, because that will have taken so much out of Chris Eubank. And I think we'll get a similar fight again. I think we'll just get pedal to the metal, a ball-breaking fight, which we saw against them. People were talking about it all week. And so it didn't surprise me that it didn't surprise me to see Conor Benn buying a Rolls Royce. It didn't surprise me to see Conor Benn at Formula One in Miami, interviewed by the chap who does all the interviews, Martin Brundle.
Martin Brundle on the grid.
Martin Brundle. Even though he didn't seem to know who Conor was when he was trying to interview Lisa, whoever Lisa was. I did see the clip. Did you know who Lisa is?
I don't know.
No, exactly. But Conor was strutting around like the all-conquering hero, which was brilliant, because his stock rose because of the delivery of a 12-round war that will live long in the memory. Times Square's fights won't live long in the memory because the guys didn't deliver. The promotion delivered financially and in terms of a novel setting, but the fighters didn't deliver for whatever reason.
I saw a clip on IFL. It was an interview with Ben Shalom and Eddie Hearn. I know you'd have probably seen this. And Ben,
them being ball breakers together, trying to bust each other's balls over nothing.
I mean, it was nothing's probably a fair way to put it, but it was Ben's comment that kind of interested me because he said out of active fighters, right? So we'll take Tyson Fury out of it. Anthony Joshua is talking about an elbow surgery, and I guess he is an active fighter. That Chris Eubank Jr. is the biggest star in British boxing. Is that something that he has a claim to? Do you think right now? Because he hasn't had the time to soak it in, having been in hospital and kind of live what Connor's lived over the last week, but he come out victor in that fight.
He's huge box office. Um, I think Conor Benn's as big a name. I think the nation's divided 50-50 on them. I mean, I run into people who say, "No, Conor Benn won that fight. He didn't win the fight. You could have scored it a draw if you gave him a couple of swing rounds. You could have scored it 7-5, or you could have scored it as I did 8-4, agreeing with all three judges. And they agreed on 6 of the 12 rounds, I think, together. You could have scored it a draw. People that love Conor Benn believe he won the fight. People that love Chris Eubank believe he won the fight. You cannot replicate what we had with the quartet there of fathers and sons in the second fight. It was an amazing night and an amazing moment with Senior turning up, eschewing all the things that he'd said in the build-up about his son being a disgrace and the fight shouldn't go ahead and do your job, to lots of journalists. So he prodded in the chest, myself included. And he's not wrong in some of the things he's saying, and he will say it again when they go for a second fight. So outside Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, yeah?
Mm. I guess taking Tyson as a retired fighter for one.
The biggest star in British boxing. No, he's not on the Graham Norton show. He's not on the. Um, he's just brilliant box office, and he was in the build up to that fight. Because what he does, once he's had his fight, he disappears off to a different place. He's not in the mainstream media. He's not doing chat shows. I haven't seen him on a chat show, have you?
No, he done Gogglebox with Senior 5 years
That was
ago.
that was a while ago.
I don't think it would be good to see him sit down on a sofa next to a couple of Hollywood actors and hit mainstream, I guess.
He went on the set of The Gentleman, didn't he? I saw that. Oh God. I think I understand Ben's argument. You can make a case. He's been box office for a while, but he's not a crossover star in my view.
And you think Conor Benn is working his way to being already might be one of the
I think he's more popular in spite of the negatives around the clomiphene tests. I think he's very loved by a certain section, young people in the UK. I do. I think they're both big stars. I think they're both very big names. I think Eddie Hearn is a bigger name than both of them, though.
Is he one of the only promoters who bar Anthony Joshua?
No, Frank Warren's a
Yeah.
very big name. Frank's crossed over a long time ago. But that's what Eddie Hearn should have come back with at Ben Shalom. But you might be wrong or right about Ben and Eubank, but as far as we are in terms of, no, Eddie's a massive crossover mainstream star, no question about it. And I don't hate to say it at all, but he is. He's made that name for himself.
Do you hate to say it? Hmm?
No, I don't know. Listen, I have no grudges with any of these guys. I don't even have any grudges with the Fishers. I wish all of them well. We all work in an industry together. I'm not into the slagging up. No, I was teasing Eddie. Eddie actually did a little video with me the other day with my Call of the Warrior book, and he was very funny talking about it, saying, it's a brilliant book, you've done a great job, because his father Barry put myself and Sonia Jasinski together 5 years ago, connected us up and said, you'd be perfect to work together on this book. 5 years later we created a book, and Eddie said, it's a brilliant book, you need to be congratulated, but it's really brilliant because I'm in it. And that's Eddie, you know?
I thought for 1 second he was going to give you a smidgen of credit there, but
No, Eddie is very good to me. Eddie is very good to me, like all the other promoters are. I look forward to Ben Shalom growing, but he's not at the level of those other guys yet. He's learning all the time, and as he learnt with the controversy, as I said to Ben Shalom, I said live on air to him on TalkSport, learn from the controversy of Whittaker Cameron that it's brilliant for you to be in the centre of a row because all it does is make your events bigger. Frank Warren does it brilliantly. He's such an attritional character when he needs to be. When Dubois and Usyk fought the first time, and I nailed my colours to the mast and wrote a column in the Telegraph and did loads of interviews saying it was borderline low. Frank went after me publicly and privately for a couple of months.
remember, yeah,
But do you remember it?
yeah.
But fair enough to him because that's how he feels. And Frank doesn't hold back when he feels something. And I think in our industry, you've got to take the rough with the smooth. It's simple as that. But their petty row the other day was quite funny. And Eddie, in the end, saying to Ben, whose name was on the promotion, who was the promoter with the boxing board of control with the event, etc., etc. It was funny seeing them argue the toss.
Yeah, I do quite like seeing them two go at it, and I think there's a friendly manner behind it all, I'll say.
Oh, I don't know about that.
We'll see. We'll see what the future holds. Talking about one of Ben's fighters, Martin Bakole, was he lucky to walk away without defeat against FAJ?
No, I thought he came into it in rounds 8, 9, 10. I completely agree with Billy Nelson that he's going to have to get him a full-time nutritionist because they were shocked on the scales at nearly 300 pounds. Only 11 pounds lighter than the weight he came in at, or 12 pounds lighter. He came in at 299. 12 pounds lighter than when he fought Joseph Parker on 48 hours notice. No, but I think he and Ajegba will fight again. My computer moved of all of its own accord then. I'm haunted. But it was just Bakole didn't get going early enough and Ajegba didn't let him. And I think they're still 8 and 9. Bakole and Ajegba in the top 10 in the heavyweight division for me. Maybe Fabio Wardley at 10. They're both dangerous fighters. They're both heavy-handed, but they couldn't better each other. I wasn't disagreeing with the draw, although I could see the 96-94 to Ajegba.
Yeah. And moving up to main event, Canelo Alvarez, he was pretty pissed because of the way that William Skull, say, came into the fight, didn't really come to engage.
It's the easiest $80 million that Canelo will ever earn. Yeah, if the reported purse is to be believed, and it probably is enormous. How Skull said afterwards that he thought he won was just beyond me. It was staggering to hear him say that when he didn't engage for probably 30 of the 36 minutes of the fight, and he simply chose to move around the ring, create a big circle around Canelo, who knew he was winning round by round, landing 7, 8 punches, lots of body shots, loading up, didn't feel threatened in the slightest. Skull put the odd jab out there, even though the CompuBox said that Skull threw and landed more punches, which I found quite staggering, or certainly threw more punches. It was really dull. It was as dull as ditch water, and I can understand Canelo being disappointed because when a guy moves like that, Skull was coming to survive, wanted to make the 12 rounds, and Canelo was walking him down, but again, Skull's very clever, and he avoided conflict. It was almost like Skull had decided that he was going to throw 10 punches around, 15 punches around, but was just going to move the entire time. And it was a weird strategy because we didn't get a fight. What we got was a dance without punches.
And the dance where he just spent a lot of time tripping over the ring Toblerones as well. It was a bit frustrating. But in terms of what we're going to get next, two four weight world champions, two-time undisputed champions, and at the Allegiant as well, which is something that I've been waiting for. Looks like an absolutely mega stadium. Canelo Crawford is, well, it's massive.
Yeah, 70,000 people on a Friday night, if I believe the dates that have been given. Slightly mystified by that, but things are being done differently at the moment. It's a terrific fight. I make Canelo the favourite, but it would not surprise me to see Crawford win on points. Or them have a very close fight that's controversial and have a second fight as well.
How would you see it playing if you're to see, just say you weren't surprised by Crawford winning, how would you see him entering that fight and winning that fight strategically?
Well, Crawford doesn't move as much as Skull, but I would think that he's going to move and just time Canelo, land punches, block and move away again. Canelo is going to have to go back to the drawing board. We saw how brilliant Eddie Reynoso is in the corner with Jaime Munguia against Bruno Saras, how he was giving very clear instructions. I don't think there was any fear about the way that Skull was going to fight Canelo, so I think they just let him off the leash straight away to load up. Canelo's going to have to be more active and throw combinations and go to the Crawford body. Crawford's going to have to move very adroitly and is going to have to out-time Canelo and try and outland him during the rounds. I think he's capable of it. The thing is about Canelo, if he's going to win this fight convincingly, I think he needs to attack Crawford and not give him a lot of space. If he gives Crawford too much space, I think Crawford could work him out. The thing is with Canelo, he eases himself into a fight. And people use this expression now, downloads data on his opponent. No one's a computer in there. No one's downloading anything. He's looking at the fine bits of movement of his opponent. He doesn't rush his work anymore. But I think I'd like to see Canelo start fast and get ahead in the fight. Equally, if he doesn't, Crawford's got to start fast and not analyze Canelo too much, but get in there and land his jab and his combinations very quickly in the fight to get ahead on points. It's a fascinating fight. It's going to be a fistic chess match, and a very high level IQ contest in terms of how it plays out. Cannot wait for it. It's unmissable.
Yeah, it's absolutely mega, and I didn't realise that September the 12th was a Friday night.
Well, they've announced September the 12th, but that is a Friday, so I'm believing them for now. If Turkey says, as he did on his Instagram and Twitter, that it's going to be September the 12th, then he's the man in the know.
Yeah, Friday night in Las Vegas, bring it on. Right, the final one now, Inoue. Climbed off the deck in the second to win in the eighth. Big respect to Cardanus, by the way, who was getting quite a bit of shit in the build-up, if we're being honest, for just not being someone who people believed was even worthy to walk in the same ring as now Inoue. But he comes out with massive credit, and I guess Inoue does what he does best as well.
Well, Lewis Neary put Inoue down as well, but no one seems to be talking about great things about him when I think he was stopped in 5, wasn't he, by Inoue. I remember sitting here, I think it was a New Year's Eve fight or New Year's Day fight or Boxing Day fight. I remember sitting here with my family watching it. Cardanus delivered a spectacular hook in the second round to drop Inoue, who, as he admitted, when the bell rings, I'm just looking for a brawl. And that's why we love the guy, because he's going to deliver for you. And the trouble is, it woke up the monster. You hurt him, you knock him down, you've woken up the monster, and then he comes and delivers. One of the things I took away from it, even though he got the stoppage in the 8th round and he dropped Cardanus himself, is I wonder whether we're seeing the limit of his weight abilities at super bantam and whether he is going to be capable of doing the same things at featherweight. A part of me is beginning to doubt that, whether he's going to carry his power. So the extra £4 is going to be interesting, but I just think when you look at some of the featherweights, Ray Vargas 6 foot tall. The reason why I've advocated Nick Ball is that Naoya Inoue is slightly taller than him. Um, there's other guys out there. The super bantamweights are really tall as well. So I think he's going to fight Akhmadaliev next. By the look of it, he'll stay at super bantamweight. I think the jury will be out until we see the result of that fight as to whether he'll still go to featherweight. But of all the weekend's action, thankfully Vegas delivered and Naoya Inoue delivered in the fight with Cardanus. And Cardanus, like you say, you have to give him great props for making the fight.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Inoue did deliver. Just a final one. It was nice to see AJ do some bits of media and hear him say a few things. What was it, the Usyk, the wild presser, and there was a lot of talk about Fury and that post and him with Sugar Hill, etc. But he's going to have one more elbow surgery, a small elbow surgery in May. So dare we even mention Gareth? Dare we even mention the fight between Fury?
Well, that for me, I mean, I before until that moment where he mentioned the elbow surgery that will keep him out for, like say, 6 to 8 weeks, then a 10-week camp. You're looking at October earliest. He's coming off a loss. He'll have been out for 13 months, and then a bad loss. He's been out for 13 months. I don't believe he should change training camps. I like him with Ben Davison. I think they're a great combination. Yeah, I got very disappointed when I saw that little bit of the interview where he said he's about to do surgery. I thought he'd done the surgery already, because Eddie's been on about it for a few months, which puts that Fury fight off till later in the year. The people in the know seem to think that Fury and Joshua will happen next spring. But I wouldn't be disappointed to see Anthony Joshua step in with Deontay Wilder in October over here, because that fight still works for me. And I think as long as Wilder can still pull the trigger, I keep forgetting the name of his opponent. It is Herndon. Terrell Herndon, yeah. And that's in June. So, if we see him being able to pull the trigger still, I think that fight with Joshua is viable.
Mm.
And then maybe we get Fury and Joshua. Maybe Fury has a little tune-up himself. God knows against Hugh. Against who? Not Hugh, because I'm not trying to suggest there's a Hugh out there that'll be fighting. But, yeah, that was disappointing, and I think we can write off that fight happening this summer, just as with the surgery being announced. A sod's law would suddenly get a message now from Tyson Fury saying he's ready for the Joshua fight.
It wouldn't surprise me if you'd done that just because of just to tease us a bit more. I don't know. Gareth, appreciate your time. What we got this week? Nottingham, talking of the Ben Davison camp, potential fight of the year. If it goes
Well,
well.
they're both 36. Lee Wood's been out 18 months. He had a fantastic 4-fight run, even though he lost one to Mauricio Lara, but came back and won the fight of the year against Conlon. The great fight with Josh Warrington. Anthony Akache has had 2 great victories in that time that he's been away, that Wood's been away, against Cordina and Warrington. Kakache's the man in form for me, and he's the holder of the IBF super feather. Wood's coming up a weight. Does that help him or not? Will being at home be like a 12th man on the pitch for him in a football analogy? It's a terrific fight. They're both deliver. It's a fight that has to deliver, and I've got a feeling it'll be a 12-round war. But I do favour Kakache to win on points, or even, as I think about it more, to win by late stoppage.